How does the PASO or the primaries work in Argentina, and why are they so important?
The thing with the primaries, as we call them, PASO means is an acronym that stands for mandatory, open, simultaneous primaries. That means that when you go to the voting booth, you have ballots for every candidate. You don't need to. It's not like the primaries in the U.S. Let's say where you need to be maybe a registered Republican or a registered Democrat or at least an independent to vote in a primary. You go to the voting booth and you have all the ballots of every candidate of every party, from Peronism to the left to the right to the center right, and you can choose one.
You cannot choose one candidate per coalition. You can only choose one among everyone.
You choose in which primary you're voting, and you put that vote in a common ballot. And that means that Bullrich beats Larreta in the center right primary, and Massa beats Grabois in the Peronist primary, in the, let's say, center left primary. And those two candidates go to the final election on October. So this is one thing that the primary decides. Since these primaries are mandatory, they also give you a really good impression of how the final elections are going to be in October. If you add up the totals of the two Peronist candidates and the two center-right candidates, and the total of Milei, who doesn't have an internal challenger, and the total of every other party, you get generally a pretty good idea of who's going to be the winner or who is close to being the winner. So the primaries really not only elect a candidate for each coalition, but they also give you a really good impression of who's going to be the overall winner, or whose candidates or which candidates are going to go to a runoff eventually.
This will be the fourth election with this use of primaries, right? What do the previous three goes tell us? Are the electoral results pretty much like a carbon copy of the primary results, or are there a lot of discrepancies?
Not a carbon copy, but they give you a good idea. And Argentina polls are extremely unreliable. People don't respond to polls a lot, and so the best poll you have is the primary. It's a one-to-one poll, right? There can be some changes between the primary and the general election, but in the past presidential elections that we have, the primary said a lot. For example, in 2011, which was the first presidential election with a primary, Christina Kirchner got a surprisingly high amount of votes. She was not seen as a clear favorite by the pollster, but she got like 50% of the votes in the primary. And people say, okay, she's going to win. This is the second candidate got like 20%, and people knew it was over in the primary. If she got 50% of the total votes, she won. The same happened in 19 when Alberto Fernandez got like 48% in the primary or something like that. People said, okay, it's over. So the primaries can really be decisive. And this is important for like people who bet in the betting markets, in the stock market, and so on. The August primary can be the one that tells you what is actually going to happen when the general election comes.